Ceema, and I am back with a new lesson on how you can talk about things that you like, things that you dislike. Now, there are several things that we really like a lot. In fact, we really love a lot. And there are some things that we plain dislike or really hate. So let's see the English expressions we use when we are going to talk about those things that we like, dislike, or maybe just love. Now, I will talk about what we use, the words we use to talk about when we love something. Now, what is it to love something? When you love something, you are expressing, an extreme passion, or can I say an intense desire for something. So let's see what are the expressions we use when we really love something. The first expression is I love eating ice cream. The word love is in the sentence because we're talking about your intense desire because you really love eating ice cream. Now, what do you not say? If I say eating ice cream is fun, well, I'm saying that I like eating ice cream, but I don't really love it. So when I love something, if you notice, the intonation in my voice kind of goes a notch higher. So I say, I love eating ice cream as opposed to eating ice cream is fun, which really means that I like eating ice cream, but I don't really love eating ice cream. Okay, now my next sentence, which shows that I really love something, goes something like, I adore sunbathing. Now, the expression I have used to denote or express my love for sunbathing is the word adore. So again, if you notice, because of the fact that I really intensely love to sunbathe, I will say I adore sunbathing. Now, if I only like to sunbathe and I'm not really passionate about it, what would I say? I like sunbathing. I don't adore sunbathing. I kind of like sunbathing. So that's the difference in intonation when you love something as opposed to just liking something. And then we have a sentence like, she's crazy about John. Crazy about, or I could say she's mad about the guy she met last night. So when I'm talking about being crazy about or being mad about, I'm talking about an intense desire, an extreme passion for a thing or a person. But what would I say if I just liked a person or I was not quite into that person? I would say, she's fond of John. She kind of likes John. She thinks he's fun, but she does not love him. She's not crazy about him. So therefore, the intonation in my voice kind of dips when I talk about just liking somebody or something. Well, there are some things that we neither like and we don't dislike either. So this is kind of a tricky thing to express when we are trying to use English expressions. So what do you use when you neither like something and you don't quite dislike it either? If somebody were to ask me, do you like doing housework? Housework meaning household chores like cleaning, swabbing, doing the dishes, the stuff. Well, what would you say? Well, there are some of you who don't know what to say because you don't like it and then you don't dislike it either. So you say something like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Well, does that sound correct? Well, you could say something like, I don't mind doing housework. So next time if somebody were to ask you a question about something you're not very sure about, you can use the expression don't mind. I don't mind doing housework. I don't mind taking my dog for a walk. I don't mind babysitting. Okay? Now, well, if someone were to now ask you whether you want to go to the park or do you want to go to the beach, a lot of you can't make up your mind as to what you need to say because you don't really mind doing anything. You neither like the park, you don't dislike the park either, but then you don't care about the beach, you don't dislike it, you don't like it either. So a lot of you say something like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever? That sounds really very uncertain, doesn't it? Well, I have a better expression. You could say, I don't really care either way. That shows that you are not really concerned about whether you go to the park, you go to the beach, you go for a movie, because you don't like it and you don't dislike it. Okay? Now, if I were to ask you, do you want to study physics or do you want to study chemistry? Or let me take some easier subjects. I could say, do you want to study English or do you want to study French? Now, some people again say, yeah, whatever. It's okay. Or both are so-so. Expressions like these are not correct English expressions. They're just used as fillers. Okay, so when you want to talk about something that you don't like and you don't dislike either, you could say, it's all the same to me. So instead of saying, yeah, whatever, it's so-so, it's okay, you can say, it's all the same to me. Let's study English or French because it's all the same to me. All right? We'll now look at some other expressions which talk about what we use when we don't like something or when we hate something. Well, there are some things that we dislike and there are some things that we purely hate. In fact, we just can't stand it. We can't stand being near those things or those people. So we're going to look at some expressions which talk about how we need to express the things we hate. And then there are some expressions that talk about things that we just dislike, okay? There is a difference between the two. We'll see why, okay? The first sentence, which talks about how much I hate something, is I can't stand my boss, okay? So I use the expression can't stand. So when I say I can't stand my boss, you can see that my voice goes a little bit higher because I'm really frustrated. You can see the hatred. It is evident in my tone of voice, okay? But if my boss was someone that I just kind of disliked, okay, I would say something like, I don't quite like my boss. Do you see the difference in the tone of my voice? When I say I don't like or I don't quite like my boss, my voice, the intonation is at an even level. It is not high, as opposed to saying, I can't stand my boss. Okay, so there is a difference in the expressions we use when we hate somebody, as opposed to someone we just dislike to a certain extent. Now, my next sentence is, I detest being late. I detest it. Or I intensely hate, I intensely dislike being late. Again, if you notice the intonation, the tone of my voice goes a little higher because of the hatred for being late. But if I were someone who was not quite, very fond of being late, I would say something like, I dislike being late. Okay, I'm not really frustrated when I say this, and therefore when I say I dislike being late, the intonation in my voice does not go as high as me saying I detest being late. Okay, now a lot of you are golf fans, so please excuse me, okay? But there are some of us who don't like golf. In fact, we hate golf. So we can say something like, I can't bear watching golf. I can't bear watching football, for some of you who don't like football. As opposed to those people who are okay with golf, they don't like it, but they don't hate it either. So they could say, golf isn't really my thing. Okay? So if you don't like something, you can say, horse riding isn't really my thing, or golf isn't really my thing, or cricket isn't really my thing. But if you intensely dislike it, if you hate it, you should say, I can't bear watching this game for the third time. Okay? Now, our next sentence, which shows intense hatred, is the expression loathe in the sentence, which says, I loathe bacon. Bacon, which is something we eat. I loathe bacon, which means I intensely hate it. I can't stand it. Okay? But if you were someone who didn't mind eating bacon, even though you don't really like it, you would say something like, I'm not very fond of bacon. So the expression that you use is, I'm not very fond of bacon, or of beans, or French beans, whatever it is that you eat. So loathe, when you use the word I loathe bacon, your voice rises up a notch, as opposed to saying I'm not very fond of bacon, wherein your voice is maintained at a pretty even level. All right. Well, that brings me to the end of this lesson on talking about how much we dislike or like something. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and you can use these tips when you talk about what you like and what you don't like. I'll be back with some more lessons. Until then, this is me saying goodbye.